The Resistant Part 2. This is by request. I've been getting so many inboxes in the last 4 months of the Resistant video. Now, a warning to everyone, before I introduce everyone, they're going to introduce themselves. This contains political content. So if you don't want that, turn it off now and stop fucking bitching about it, okay? This complains. Ooh, that's a Freudian. This contains political content, but it's about music. It's the music here. So we're going to go around the table. We each picked three records that are some of them political, some of them not, but in the moment we are, in the times we are, that's why we pick these records. We don't know what each other's picking. So let's go around the channel here. Introduce yourself and your channel name. Up
I
and
think
top.
it pointed to me.
I don't know that we're seeing the same
Oh, we're
form.
not
We're
saying the
not
same thing.
seeing the
I'm
same.
talking to North Carolina.
Oh,
The
okay.
gentleman from North Carolina.
Oh, my name's Chris. I'm the lawn cut. I'm sorry. Can't
Nice.
tell.
Double
Can't
plug for
tell
me.
the difference really looking at us. Um, I'm John, digital gramophone.
And where are you based?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we got our gentleman from this great state of California.
Chris from the Digital Gramophone. Just kidding. Chris from the Long Cut, and I am in San Jose, California.
Okay. And
I'm Todd. I am from Lost Mixtapes. Yes, that's my channel. But also, I'm living in or near just outside of Seattle, Washington.
and three of us lived for a time in California. So
Yeah.
uh, California's been a hot topic lately for a lot of reasons. The great state of California. I love California.
Mhm.
So we're going to go around and we're inspired by where we are today, good, bad, and ugly. And sometimes it's to escape from the political scene, and sometimes it's to, you know, respond and hate. See, I'm doing all these like I'm jumbling my words here. We we escape from it. So let's go around and start with John.
Well, the first record that I'm going to talk about for political reasons. And I've talked about it before on my channel, but not everybody watches my channel. The album's called "The Fear of Standing Still" by the band American Aquarium. And this was one of my favorite records from last year. American Aquarium is a shocker Americana alt country band. They're out of North Carolina, and I've been into them for about 16 years or so. In more recent years, BJ Barham, it's really the project of one guy, BJ Barham. His band has changed over time. And I would say in more recent years, he has gotten a little bit more political with his writing. And I find a lot of solace uh, in his songs and in his records because he's from the South, like I am, and we are politically aligned, I guess, in our mentality. And I just think that also, he's in a genre where a lot of people, especially in country music, are told to just shut up and sing. And he does not do that. And he also has no bones about picking fights on Twitter, which I normally find kind of annoying when people do that. But I think when you're kind of an outlier and you're kind of a black sheep, he's from a very small town, Reidsville, North Carolina. And most of the people that he grew up around, I'm sure, did not share his belief system. And so I kind of feel like when you're like that, you have a little bit more leeway to kind of pick those fights and take on those discussions and debates. But the one song on this album in particular is one called Southern Roots. And it's essentially like reclaiming what you consider to be your Southern roots. I don't want to really read lyrics, but like the best way that I can kind of like sum it up is by if I actually do read some. So if there's one thing I've found, you can't change the way you sound. You can only change the words that you choose. So I'm putting in the work, I'm digging in the dirt, and I'm replanting my Southern roots. So I think a lot of people, and none of you guys are from the South. So I'm kind of used to taking a lot of shots for being where I'm from. And
My mom is from Wheeling, West Virginia.
yeah, but
Not the
Yeah,
same.
where in the South? Where in the South are you from?
who, me?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in South Carolina,
Uh,
but I live in North Carolina now.
yeah.
And I've
Is
been there
Charlotte
for,
considered Charlotte's not the South, right? It's the mid
yeah, it is. I mean,
east.
it still is. It's very much,
Really?
I mean, Waffle Houses and churches, just like
Yeah, I
anywhere
guess
else,
so.
no matter what the
Yeah.
population. But
Yeah.
no, it is a very transient city. That's true. And like any other like any other state, every state has its blue and red, sections. But I grew up in a small town in South Carolina. Um, and it's very different from Charlotte.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I was raised by a school teacher and a public school teacher and a father that, had a decent amount of empathy. So I think that's kind of like where my left-leaning politics came from. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that kind of also understanding where you come from, understanding why certain people think the way that they think, and you still have to kind of try and be empathetic to that. And, you know, you just try to like win people over through your actions, I think, you know. Um, but you could also pick fights on Twitter, the way BJ Barham does. And I'm all for it.
Any of you guys know this album? I don't know this record. Do you know it, Chris or Todd?
I only know the name of the band because
I
it's a
know the
Wilco
name of the
reference,
band.
right?
Yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. There's a few songs that are more political than others. A lot of the other songs are really just about being a dad, being a husband. Um,
Two more things I can't relate to.
yeah, but what it's like to be on the road and still balance those types of things. But I still think, even though I still think that the way I take it, the more universal thing that you can take from those songs is, what it's like to be a real man, you know? And I feel like, especially with this last election, it seems like we were all told that uh, men were the people that decided it, because they were apparently under attack,
White men
all of the
under
feminists
attack.
and woke people. And, there was this election was like to reclaim, what it is to be a man, or to reclaim masculinity. And I feel like there are a lot of lessons on this record of how you can be a real man and not, take advantage of other people and not talk down to other people. And, you know, that's so whether you're a dad or a husband or not, I still think there's a lot of things that you can take out of it.
Well,
You
since it was so intense and dramatic and real, I think we need to shake things up, have a shot. Let's take a moment here. I don't know, what are you drinking? I know you can't, you're off because you're somewhere else in a place that you can't have alcohol or something. Are you
Yeah,
in like a work furlough type of
I'm in a
thing?
bunker.
You're in a bunker. Chris,
Yeah.
what do you have there?
I have Kolsch, which is very refreshing and delicious.
Okay. And Todd?
I have a hazy IPA, Fremont Brewing. It was called Sky Kraken, now it's called Sky. Still don't know why, but I'm guessing it has something to do with the Kraken not liking it.
As in Kraken as the
Hockey team.
hockey team here in
Oh
Seattle?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just have some kind of Italian
Isn't there a
Italian.
big hockey game tonight? Isn't game 6 of the Stanley Cup? Is it tonight? Or is that over?
I'm
No, it's
so
over. Florida won.
You're asking the wrong people.
Yeah, I know. NBA Finals is tonight. Two teams. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, so we gave the warning about
Mhm.
that's probably the most political one. Maybe I'll be more political too, but let's just see. Todd, what do you got?
All right, I have something completely in a different direction. Um, I've been on kind of more of an escapism kind of
Mhm.
trip where I've really enjoyed records lately, and part of it is my partner, the archivist, because she's got, Mazzy, oh, all but maybe not digital gramophone as much, but she's got a very wide taste in music, and sometimes we just put on records that just totally like set a mood and take you somewhere else. And I actually heard this the first time at your place, Mazzy, but it's the Cooder
Oh,
record,
yeah. Such a good record.
Mambo Sinuendo, is that how you say it? Um,
Sinuedo. And
yeah, it's like classic Latin songs.
Sinuendo. Sinuendo.
Sinuendo. It's classic Latin songs. I was not familiar with most of them, but it's done with a Cuban band, congos, and electric guitar, bass, maybe a couple other instruments. Real simple, but really sets a mood and just takes you somewhere else. I mean, it sounds like the 50s, and I think that's what they're going for. Um, and it's great to put on if you're just like want drinks after work, you're just relaxing, it's summertime. We put it on a lot of times when guests come over, just like, okay, what should we put on? It's like, oh yeah, let's put that on. It's great. And I'm not familiar really with, I've tried listening to Ry Cooder's more singer-songwriter records and it didn't do a whole lot for me, but I'm not giving out hope. I warm up to stuff sometimes. It just takes a while. But I absolutely love this record. And I
You know,
love
if you like
her.
that, if you like that, I mean, it's very twangy, reverb drenched, like
Hmm.
50s, 60s.
Almost Link Ray kind of line
Yeah,
sometimes.
and Venture. I mean, but more on the yeah. It's and the thing is, if you like that, you might like Ry Cooder's soundtracks more than his actual song-based records because there's
I
a lot
did.
of ambient things,
Okay.
instrumental things to them for the most part, not always. That is a stupendous album. That was at None Such Records, the part of the post Buena Vista Social
Yeah,
Club.
this is 2003. I think Buena Vista was 1998.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But he did. I mean, he's mixed his guitar playing with all these different foreign, international musicians, and just he loves that whole thing. I mean, I learned so much of world music from him and American music, obviously. So
Yeah.
fantastic record.
Yeah, absolutely love it. So yeah, it's escapism. It's just a great record to put on when I mean, honestly, for us, a lot of times just we don't know what else to put on. It's a beautiful day. Put that on. It's great.
But we can get into the political side of it, thinking about when, Americans, I can't remember where we are now. That's the thing about we're in a yo-yo world now. I don't know. Remember for a while, I think when Obama was president, I think they opened up travel to Cuba. And then it was closed again for a while. So I've never been to Cuba. One of my photographers went, but had to go somewhere else to get into Cuba. You couldn't go directly. So I don't even know. You guys know where we stand now in traveling to Cuba?
I don't know now. No.
Mm-mm.
You know?
This sounds
I
like
don't
what
know
you would
where we stand.
imagine.
I don't know where we stand on
Yeah,
travel anywhere.
exactly. It's like isn't the world like a yo-yo a little bit?
I don't even know if we can go to Canada and get back in
I don't
again.
even know if I can go to California right now.
Well,
Yeah, you probably can't.
there was talk, I think a week ago now, where we are, that they apparently troops were sent in to liberate the Californians. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Chris,
we
what do you
we
got?
desperately need that, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Liberate them. I mean, come on. How shitty is that? Even just saying that. Okay.
My turn.
Uh,
Yeah. Also, very much on a lighter note. And anybody who's watched my videos recently
Yes.
I
has
just
heard
saw
me
your
talk about
last
wow.
one.
this
You
record.
talked about that. Yeah.
ABC Records. I promoted that record.
And this, got a little bit of chatter. A bunch of people saying they're rediscovering a bunch. There's
Yeah.
like two people that said it. That they're rediscovering Jimmy Buffett, that they had never given him a chance. And I've talked about this record probably in 5 of my videos. A1A came out, I think it's 73, 74. And I think this is a perfect record. I mean, it's not Blood on the Tracks perfect, but every song is great. The songs just aren't as great as the songs on Blood on the Tracks. um, if you listen to
Go on.
one song on this, which this has a political theme, I guess. It's my favorite Jimmy Buffett song called Migration. Super. He never performed. I've seen Jimmy Buffett live probably 7 or 8 times when I was in high school. It was like we went in the summer and we drank Coronas and right at the Garden State Arts Center in New Jersey.
No margaritas?
What's that? No, we had margaritas too. But it was just it was one of my late friend George. My friend George passed away 13 years ago in a car accident. He was a dear friend of mine in high school. He used to make the best mixtapes ever, and he would make them personally for someone who was at the party. So he'd like throw a party, and he'd be like,
Mhm.
"It's Chris's mixtape," and he'd put it in,
Okay.
and Migration would start. And then it would be Backstreets, right? Um,
Mhm.
so whenever I hear this record, which I've been listening to a lot lately, I think of my friend George. And every time I raise this in a video, I'm like, someone's gonna come down on me, and nobody has. Like, if you one person was like, I checked out the record, it's great. And if I'm not mistaken, when Bob Dylan was recently asked, I think in the last few years, his favorite songwriters, I think he said Buffett first.
He
Really?
mentions Buffett, I think, in his one of the books. Maybe his
Yeah.
autobiography, one of the books.
He mentions Buffett, Loudon Wainwright,
Yeah.
Warren Zevon, and who am I forgetting? And
Not Randy Newman. No.
nope, country singer. Friends with Steve Earle. It's escaping me. Guy Clark. He mentions those
Clark.
four. But yes, Jimmy Buffett A1A. He has a bunch of good records, but this one, have any of you ever listened to it?
I have it. Yeah, yeah. I don't have them all. Like when I did my 95 purge, I got rid of some Jimmy Buffett just for the mood I was in then. But I have four still, Pink Crustacean,
Yeah.
and
That one's pretty
the
good.
big one that I promoted, I remember in 77 or 78 was the double live album. And he came and did a thing at ABC in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then the Parrot Heads thing
And
happened there.
these records, A1A, and I think 4 or 5 others were just reissued on vinyl.
Where
Well,
does that
fine.
fall in his discography? Is that like a really early one?
It's
First,
like-
second, third?
Is it like
74's got to
third?
be early, right?
Like third or fourth, second or third, it's early-ish. I think his first one was 71 or 2, maybe. I don't know.
Sounds about right.
My
I'll check
generation.
it out.
Jimmy Buffett needs some more vinyl. I don't think I've ever heard Jimmy Buffett mentioned on the VC other
And
than
they're inexpensive to find used copies, Todd.
Oh
So,
yeah, used copies are like $2.
yeah, they're cheap. Well,
Sweet.
we're in Seattle, they're 10.
Oh,
think-
yeah.
And I listen to that
Yeah.
because it makes me happy. Jimmy
I
Buffett
think
just makes-
I
right?
think Sturgill Simpson is making Jimmy Buffett cool again or something with his
Is there?
Johnny Blue Skies stuff.
Yeah.
I think I read online somewhere it's completely unfounded. There's no factual thing in it, but it was like I think on a Reddit. I don't remember why I was there, but I read a comment where somebody said that if Buffett was still alive, that Sturgill Simpson was going to produce like his next album or something.
That would be a good
But
record.
What is?
Have any of you guys, Mazzy, have you seen Buffett live?
Yeah.
He's a blast, right?
Yeah, he came to we had our office. Our office was on Bush and Laguna in an old Edwardian, like, when you're going in San Francisco. So it's in a residential area next to a therapist area in a church. But we had like the third floor of this Edwardian was our office. There was like 6 or 7 of us that worked there, and we had a thing, and Buffett came to it. So I met him, but I was like the low guy on the totem pole
Yeah.
merchandising, but he was a great guy, like a
Yeah,
normal
I've heard
guy. What you see is what you get with Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, his passing it hit me harder than I would have expected. I was pretty sad when he died.
Yeah.
So was my mom. My mom was really upset about it. It was sweet.
I forget who chose him. Was it you, Chris? When we had the VC questions in January, and it was like if you could be anybody living or dead, like basically take over their life, who would it be? And somebody had Jimmy Buffett, and it was like impossible to argue with the choice because all he did was just
I mean,
have
what a
fun.
great and
Play
he wrote all
music.
those children's books. You remember the books? I mean, the guy made the guy was worth $1 billion, but doing it the right way and still doing good things for people.
Yeah.
we're not anti-capitalist, I don't think, and about making a lot of money, but give something back, do something for the people, not selfishness. Not that I'm
Sure.
signaling out anyone by referring in that way, but okay.
He
I'm
seemed like
kind
a
of
very
against the
decent
mechanics
guy.
that make somebody a billionaire. That
Yes.
Yeah.
just seems absolutely insane to me.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's just
Okay.
me.
I
But
got a question for the three of you since I'm like 18 years younger than the oldest one here, I think. And so I'm a good 20 years. I could be your father. All your guys' fathers, all you's fathers. So who was the biggest, like popular sales, everything, American band in 1969 and 1970?
biggest American?
American band, like really like famous and they sold records. I mean, you could argue with this a little bit, but the biggest American band,
The Doors?
CCR?
no.
The Doors?
Actually, CCR is a good answer because in '69 they put out three friggin' records that were huge.
Yeah.
Okay, the answer is in reality of new.
Stevie Wonder.
Airplane.
No, no, Airplane. They're
It's
like
gonna be
Yeah.
like the Carpenters or something like that.
no. Crosby, Stills and Nash, and then Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. The
Yeah,
first album, and then Deja Vu, 69, 70.
yeah,
Bam, boom, bing. One
yeah,
70, 70. All
They were that big? I didn't
They were
realize they were
huge. They were
that.
yeah.
well, they were huge on the scene too. Now, someone's going to quibble, say, well, they didn't sell as many records as Creedence or as whoever else. That could be true, but in the
You're
consciousness,
already walking it back.
I totally am.
Yeah.
But think of
It
CSN.
wouldn't be you if you did.
1970, the Woodstock movie came out. All my buddies went, and of
Mhm.
course, Sly Stone and the Who, and Jimi Hendrix, and were and Santana were actually highlights of that movie. But CSN, remember that whole thing? The first time we ever played live together and everything. That's why later Neil Young was thrown in because they needed a musician. Because really, Nash and Crosby hardly played anything to go on tour, and then you know, uh, Neil Young showed up for a couple of tracks when he fucking felt like it for Deja Vu, and that was about it. So, but end of 70 and 71, all four members put out four incredible solo records. Steve
Mhm.
Stills' first record with Love the One You're With, that first Crosby album, I finally can remember my name. He still couldn't remember for 40 years after that, but it's a great record. And then of course Neil Young with the second. What's the second one he did? My
Gold
favorite.
Rush?
Everybody
Gold
knows.
Rush is my favorite Neil Young record. Gold Rush,
Everybody knows this is nowhere.
and then Graham Nash. Now, some people consider Graham Nash like the lightweight weight of the band, and of course, he was one of the great vocalists from the Hollies before this. But this record, in fact, all of them were so political. We know about Ohio, um, Ford did in Ohio after that situation, and they all had a tinge of politics. And when they went on the road, they would push that political thing down. And I just want to say this right now because whenever I do mention politics on my channel, I get a handful of people saying, I came here for the music, stop the fucking politics, I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys get that, if you ever do that, but music is, look at the Beatles revolution, the Stones, everyone has a political sense when things are happening. Bob Dylan, we can name, 100 bands. But this record has some beautiful songs on it, and it has some lightness to it, but it's really beautifully produced. And it's got some of the other members, of course, except for Young, on here. But opening up with Military Madness is a good example of this. Somewhat political, but that's about World War II when he was born, and so that's not really what I want to talk about here. But the second to last song, or the two songs that merge together, are Chicago and We Can Change the World. And
Mhm.
this was written during the trial of the Chicago Eight. And of course, in '68 was the anti-war protests of the Democrat Convention, the riots in Chicago, Mayor Daley. This is a response to Mayor Daley, who, had an iron fist on Chicago. And that trial, if you ever seen the movie version of the Chicago Eight, you got to see it.
Is it called that? Chicago 8?
It's someone's going to tell me. It might be called. It just came out like what in the last 5 years.
Oh,
It
really? Oh.
it's really good, and the craziness and the bullshit of the judge, and I'm Julius. I'm forgetting his name right now. Who was the judge in that? And then, of course, the two black guys, Bobby Seale being one of them, were shackled because of their outburst. They were shackled during the trial, and that's when Tom Hayden was in the Chicago 8. And it's an amazing story, and it's amazing journey. But that song here, Chicago, We Can Change the World, and it's kind of the stuff we're going through now about protesting in the streets. Now, I don't think any of us support violence when they, you know, call Waymo automated taxis and burn them and do that bullshit stuff. But what happened this last weekend? I mean, I think partly the way I wanted to have this happen now, because this weekend in this King's March, we had the biggest protests in American history around the country. About 5 million people, give or take, came out. Seattle had, surprisingly, had one of the biggest with 70,000 people. Peaceful. Are there a few things, skirmishes here and there? Yeah, but nothing violent. I was in West Seattle and there was like 500 people in a neighborhood in Seattle. And you know what happened, Todd? You were down south.
I was in a small town and we had a good turnout. And it
Yeah.
was fun. It was it felt really good to be out there and the energy was really good. It just felt good to be seen and
Mhm.
tons of people just honking the horns. We were on a pretty busy street.
And there's a song on here called I Used to Be a King. So that's
What about Mazzy? I'll just meet your
yeah,
moment. Look
absolutely.
at this.
Is
That
that
was
your
oh,
grandmother?
nice.
Oh,
Wow.
It's
it's
me and
grandma.
Graham Nash, and I
Very
got
good.
That's
That's so
cool.
I got
cool.
Very
some.
cool.
Yeah, I want to
When
make
was
this
that?
about
When
me
was that?
because it was a private event, a company I was working at, and he performed with Jenny Lewis, and it was
With Jenny
phenomenal.
Lewis?
Yeah, Graham
That's
Nash and Jenny
that's a
Lewis.
great combination.
Yeah.
It was, I think, I have a picture of that.
Did they
Keep going. I'll bring
did
it
they
up. But
record anything together?
I don't think so.
I'm waiting for
So,
John to bring out a picture of him and Bobby Seale.
there's
Wow,
Graham Nash and Jenny Lewis.
it's a good picture.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was very, very, and he was shocked that I had that record. He looked and he's like, "You brought this one?" I was like, "Dude, I love this record. That one."
This
Yeah.
is a
Nice.
fantastic. Now, this is, I had got rid of my copy or something. I don't know what happened to it. But this is actually about a 10-year-old Chris Bellman cut Rhino. I think it's remixed. It sounds incredible. And I have the bag here, $19. I mean, it's probably more now, but so the reissues that Rhino did 10 years ago or 8 years ago are fantastic. So
It's a great
it's a
record.
good sounding record, you know, and it's like it's funny. All the Crosby, Nash records sound like that, but obviously more emphasis on one or the other. And it's not as kind of like I hate to say lightweight. That sounds really shitty when I think of teach your children well, la la da la di da di da. But it's a great song. It just seems a little yacht rockish, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's a great song.
A yacht rocket. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's lighter. It's
Yeah.
not doesn't have the gravitas of love the one you're
Gravitas.
with if you can't pay.
Yeah. Or Our House.
Exactly. When that's old, like another Nash song. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And his second album, which I could have brought along, is he did a song called the Immigration Song. There we go.
Mhm.
So how
Mhm.
I
topical.
saw
Not to be
last.
confused with Led Zeppelin's
Yeah.
Immigration.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe it's just called Immigration Man.
I saw the entire Tweedy family perform Military Madness. So Sammy, like I think he's the youngest.
Mhm.
Sammy was on vocals, Jeff on guitar, and Spencer on drums
Mhm.
at the Solid Sound Festival. They did Military Madness. It was
So cool.
incredible.
I thought I wanted to do a drinking game. Any of you say anything about Tweety or Wilco or the guy from what's the guy from the Drive-By Truckers?
Patterson Hood,
Good.
No,
Isbell,
his
Isbell.
that we would
Visible.
just take a shot,
Visible.
or Amanda
What
Shires.
what are the odds that somebody would show a Rye Cooder record and it wasn't you though?
Yeah, that is. I was thinking the same thing when it came up.
Good one. Thank you,
Okay.
Todd, for
Didn't have that
representing.
on my 2025 bingo card.
Yeah.
See,
Every
we're
time I
loosening
watch a
up now.
Mazzy
We're
video, I'm
loosening
like,
up
it's
now.
gonna be Rye Cooder within 30 seconds.
Also,
Like,
how old did you say how much older did you say you were than the youngest person?
The oldest person. I think
You're the
I
oldest
could be wrong
person?
here, and you have to say
Oh, you got it right.
I think
You
Todd's the oldest
graduated
here.
high school the same year I was born.
Yeah, so I'm
Okay.
18 years older than Todd,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I don't know I know about what Chris is. I don't know.
you're 19 on me.
Okay, see, and then I don't know. I'm probably
What's
about
like
18.
45 on him?
I'm probably about
Yeah,
20 on
I'm the
you.
youngest. I'm the oldest looking, but youngest one.
No.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
46.
I think we're back to you, John.
Well, I'm going to bring it back down, guys,
Okay.
because that's what I do.
Sad bastard.
But no, this is a record that I have turned to quite a bit this year for solace. Even though it was actually born out of grief, because I'm just a real sicko like that. And it's called the Black Boltz. This is the solo debut of Tunde Adebimpe, the lead singer from TV on the radio. Um, and it was somewhat inspired, not all of it, but some songs were inspired and dedicated to his sister who died. But as dark as a lot of the lyrics are, and there's a lot of like relationship songs, that are just kind of, troublesome or whatever. It's surprisingly bright sounding. And especially, compared to any of the TV on the radio stuff. There's definitely, I mean, he's even kind of stretching into pop territory on a few of these songs, very danceable stuff. But I also just find his vocals, not even lyrically, not even certain phrases that I'm reinterpreting to sound comforting. I just find his vocals so warm and comforting. And I just love, he's one of my favorite vocalists.
When did that album come out?
This year.
Oh, it's new. Okay.
Yeah, this year. And it's actually even been a favorite amongst the kids. So it's one that I can even
Which kids
put
are
on in the
these?
car.
Your kids? Your kids?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a song on here called Drop, and it's based off of like a kind of like I'm having a senior moment, beatboxing beat that he's actually doing. And I showed the video to Sam. And even though it's an illustrated video, you can tell that he's doing that, like there's motions that he's doing that. And Sam was just enthralled by that. So he loves it just for that, really, and he can't beatbox for shit, but he's just mesmerized by it. So it's actually been, I don't know, it's just been a really comforting record. Definitely not topically. Sometimes you just can't explain it.
Yeah.
But
You go really deep on new releases. Whenever you do like your top 20 of the year,
yeah,
oftentimes there's like 15 or 16 I've never even heard of. Like,
yeah. Well, and there are people out there that go way deeper than I do. I just I can't turn that thing off.
yeah.
I have to,
I love that. I
you
love
know,
Yeah.
I wish I had more of that, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
yeah. I think part of it is, one, you have to like kind of throw caution to the wind and throw out the thing. I think a lot of us as music geeks, we tend to think, well, if I'm going to get into this artist, I've got to dive all in. Because I don't really know them if I don't listen to all their stuff. That's so stupid. You can just like something and not have a clue about the rest of their discography. You know what I mean? But and I think sometimes being able to do that helps, because then you discover stuff and it's like, oh yeah, okay, this is the first time I've ever heard the band Flory, but yeah, they have like 2 records that I'd never heard before, and
you don't feel like you got to go
because
pick them all
I
up.
didn't get in on the beginning, but I like them now, And I think you just got to be able to not care about that stuff.
That's an interesting thing, because there is that thing that there's certain bands that I discovered or an artist, and well, Adrian Lenker maybe is an example to some extent, but I went back, and because of Todd and Amanda with Big Thief, that's how I got into them a little bit. And that Adrian Lenker is one of my favorites, and I had no idea she had stuff before. And but then even just recently, I picked up the new Pulp album. Long story there. But it's actually really good. I got the wrong one, but that's another story. But only had one other Pulp album, and I don't have the big albums way back 20 years ago, whatever, 25 years ago when they were doing it.
30,
30.
30.
Okay, yeah, early
Yeah.
90s. I knew that, but it just my time, like I go
No,
like
I
this.
just
You know
I
how it
just
is.
had to date us.
You can correct me, definitely.
Yeah.
But you know what? You might get into something now, and really, like one of their greatest albums might have been 30 years ago, and you just
Mhm.
got into this record now, and you feel a little bit of obligation to go check out that great record someone did. Uh,
Yeah, for sure.
But how
Yeah.
cool is that you can
That's
judge
a
it on your own on its own terms? Just be like, this is a
yeah.
great
yeah,
record.
yeah.
You know?
And
By
then
That would
my
be
someone
opinion, it's
else,
been
that
around forever. And
and someone who followed them may say, "Oh shit, it's nothing like their greatest thing." But you're evaluating it just on the moment.
Well, you brought up Adrian Linker, and I was out of the four, I was the odd man out. Like it was not one of my favorite albums of the year by any stretch of the imagination. And I think it's because I've kind of been in on her and Big Thief, from like not quite from the jump, but pretty close. And I just not that it's not it's a really good album, and I would never like say that it's bad that you guys loved it so much. I would never even debate you on
You
it,
hate that people
but I just
discovered
think
your
it's just
band, your artist.
huh.
You hate that people discovered your artist.
No, I don't. No, it's not about that. It's just I think it's just because I've lived with her music a little bit longer that it just didn't have the same impact on me. There's some artists are like that, some others aren't. Some you get better with time, like on and on. It just yeah. But I just think it's important if you're gonna stay on top of new music to not feel pressured or obligated, like because you might just be missing out on something, you know? Yeah. All right.
Todd?
Lecture over.
all right.
Todd?
right as the ice cream truck goes by, I don't know if you can hear it in the
So,
background.
are you going to
That's
show
how
another?
that's how suburbia I am right
Are you going
now.
to show another Maslov favorite? No,
Uh,
I'm
I
kidding.
don't think
Another
so.
Cooder record.
But it's probably as predictable for me
Yeah,
as Will
Warren
Go and
Zevon.
all that can be.
Still feel
Um,
gone.
this is a band that like totally shaped my political identity in some ways. Like their albums, Life Search Pageant and Document, what
Yeah.
like and seeing them live in 1987,
Yeah.
Greenpeace, all that stuff was presented to me, and political lyrics you could finally make out. It changed my world, the way I looked at things, and turned me on to so many things. And then they would mention every interview, they'd mention some band like the Velvet Underground. I'd have to check out that, television, and on and on and on. But their last album for me, Collapsing and Now, R.E.M., has been like really doing it for me. And this is sort of
Cool.
an example of expectations, um expectations where like when this was a new record, I think the record company did a horrible job of but they put out so many singles so far apart, and the album, it felt like you got 6 months of singles before the record came out, to the point where you'd heard half of it, and then they did videos for every song. It's kind of like just a little overload. And I liked the album a lot. I thought it was like better than Accelerate a little bit because it was more diverse. But I liked it a lot. I mean, I ranked it, I can't remember where I ranked it, my REM countdown, but lately, and I think it happened because somebody commented on my countdown about it, how much they loved this album and how much they love the song. Um, it happened today in the video for it, that I really started going in and listening to it, and it sounded so fresh to me and so complete that it's been sort of an escapism record for me. I mean, here's a band that taught me about politics, but here's an album. I mean, it was released during the Obama years, that is not about politics at all. It's an album about saying goodbye, about change, metamorphosis. This band that's been around, I mean, my whole life. I mean, well, not whole life, but from the time I was 15, I got into them, and every year, whenever they put out a new record, I was always curious what they're doing and turned me on to different things, like I said. But it's also an incredibly uplifting record,
Mhm.
and I mean, songs like "Every Day Is Yours to Win," or "It Happened Today," like I mentioned, or Songs about the band itself, all the best. Uberlin, that whole first side I absolutely love. But I found myself even liking things in it, like Blue, which originally I thought was just kind of a ripoff of the one they did with Patti Smith on Evil the Letter off New Adventures. But it's just been a great record. It feels very, very fresh to me, and I've just been loving it. I've been playing it a lot over the last probably 3 months. So, Collapsing and Now, R.E.M, the last album they ever did, studio record.
Yeah.
So,
I stopped at Murmur. No, I stopped at Murmur.
I
I
Wow.
started at Murmur.
stopped to Meet the Beatles.
Yeah, yeah.
There
I
are
stopped
people
at
out
Greetings
there
Master
that were
Fire.
always like, Murmur's the best. That's all I need.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I meant I stopped at it's Monster, right? Is that
Oh,
the
you got more to discover
Oh,
there.
there's good
Yeah,
stuff beyond that. Yeah.
I know. I know
I got them all
everybody
on
loves
CDs.
the one
So,
that follows that, What New Adventures in
New
Hi-Fi.
Adventures is great. Really
Yeah.
great
yeah,
record.
that's one
Just
that
couldn't
I
do I just couldn't do any
shunned a
more
little
after
bit when
Murmur.
it came out, but I got to over the years more. So don't a lot of people consider that album? I mean, not even consider. I mean, I think it's been even stated that it's literally made for the fans. Like
Yeah.
there are all these lyrical references to
To the
songs
band.
from the past and biographical information and all that stuff. So it's like if you're a fan, you're going to, and you've been a long time fan, especially, you're gonna absolutely love that album. And then maybe more
But
casual
divorce from
fans, not as
expectation
much.
a little bit.
What's that?
Divorce from expectation
Yeah,
really
sure,
helps.
sure.
Yeah,
But there's fodder there for you to appreciate, right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean,
exactly.
the first song, Michael Stipe talks about his first trip to New York and how eye-opening it was, how it
Mm-hmm.
defined him as an artist. And then he goes, the
Mm-hmm.
second song's about kind of the breakup of the band, All the Best, and Every Day's Yours to Win. It happened today. I mean, it happened today. It's so weird for a band that never really tells you what the songs are about. In interviews, he kind of said that It Happened Today was a tribute to Vic Chestnut, who I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
And Michael Stipe produced his first two records, and they're pretty tight. And it sort of had this cloud of negativity for me. And, you might automatically think it's about somebody's death. But then the comments I was getting on my channel, and then me listening to it again, I'm realizing it's a celebration of who he was as a
Mm-hmm.
person, how he lived like fearlessly.
Mm-hmm.
That changed things completely. So yeah,
Well,
it's
and
cool.
to think about how many bands even get the opportunity to do that, to have that mission and actually do, I mean, that's what's so beautiful about
Yeah,
how they stopped, you
and
know?
they're all getting along, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And we're at a point we're making this decision, and so we're able to actually craft an album that's a literal goodbye
Said
record.
goodbye. Yeah. How
And
often does
I
that
mean,
and
nobody
happen?
knows at the
nobody
time, but
who else
he
gets to
said in
do
interviews,
that?
I'm saying goodbye.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I
Like
thought that
who
was,
else
that's
has been
not
able to
a
do that?
Paul is dead clue or a Barry is dead clue. No, I guess too soon. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Yeah, always got to get the Beatles in there.
What year would that come out? I have it on CD. I can't remember what year that.
2011.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. It's like 14
That
years ago.
late. I thought for
Yeah,
some
it's
reason it was
wild.
earlier. But interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, despite what they played a couple shows sort of together recently, right? I think at the 40 Watt,
Yeah, I mean they're touring that band, and I forget what they're called. That's
the minus five.
singer.
Five.
No, the
No,
one.
it's the actor,
Yes,
and he's doing
Oh,
it's a cover band,
Oh yeah, I
R.E.M.
love
cover
that
band.
guy.
and
the
they
manager
tour
of
different records. So this last one, they toured all over the place, including here. Now I wish I had seen it, but they
Yeah.
toured Fables of the
the
Reconstruction.
manager of the movie version of the Runaways. The guy that played who's like the skanky guy that produced the Runaways? The LA guy.
Oh, I know Kim something.
Kim Fowley.
Oh, totally.
It's
Yeah.
Michael
He played.
Shannon is the
Yes.
Yeah,
actor.
he
Michael
played
Yes.
Kim
Shannon.
Fowley.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who I never would have been able to picture as a frontman of any rock band
No.
I
before
know.
he
They're
started
great.
doing this. And yeah, I mean, so I guess they just at first it was just Michael Stipe, and then it was a, like a couple of guys, and then it
I
was like
think Bill Berry
oh,
was it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Bill Berry play actually, yeah. did.
They were
Yeah.
all on stage, but they were, the other band was still there
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it was playing. Yeah.
But
It's funny.
apparently,
I
like
commented on somebody's Facebook, some REM thing where somebody was making a big deal about how REM reunites, and I just said, this is ridiculous. They did something like a particular little bit better, but this is ridiculous. They did not playing one or two songs is not a reunion at somebody else's
yeah,
show. And Michael Stipe
I've heard.
liked my
Nice. Did he really?
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I've heard there is no chance of a reunion tour. That's never
Oh
happening.
no.
I don't know if that's true, but they'll play these fun gigs together.
Yeah.
Peter Buck's in like 50 bands, right? Like
Oh
he's
Have you
my
guys
playing all
God.
the
have you
time.
He's
guys
probably playing here tonight. I mean,
you
yeah.
guys seen or follow the baseball project?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
like
mean, I've
They're
looked
fun
into
ones.
it, but I don't. Yeah.
They're
More
They're
fun.
on
minus
tour.
five for me.
They're on tour with the minus five.
You know, the
now
minus
this
five
summer.
thing for me, it's McConaughey's. Is that what's his name?
Scott McCoy.
McCoy.
Coy. Sorry, I just don't like his voice.
I love his voice.
I like his voice. I mean, he puts out a lot of material. Well, he had a little bit of a break, but
Yeah,
that Down with Wilco and the like
Down with Wilco's a great
something,
record.
the one after that was great. I listened to the new one the other day. I thought that sounded pretty good.
all right.
An early record of theirs called The Old Liquidator is great. Minus
Mm.
five.
Nice.
Let's move on with
Nice.
Chris now. Let's
Okay, yeah, let's move this along, huh?
just a little bit. I mean, I'm not trying.
Yeah.
Whatever.
This one-
You don't have anything to
John
do.
took over the first half hour on his opening track.
Yeah, I was a little more
Aren't we
into
still
that. I
on
don't
that?
care.
We needed to loosen up a little bit.
Mine's gonna be quick. Whenever I'm
You don't have to be quick.
anxious, which I have been quite a bit lately, I go to one of his records.
Oh, nice.
And lately it's been what? Pink Moon's 28 minutes long, I think. I think it's
Yeah.
28 minutes long.
Mhm.
The more I listen to Nick Drake, the more I think he might be at the top. Like the greatest of them all. Like
I
know
love your grandiose statements.
yeah. I mean, he
You
has
said
three
that about
records.
300 times in your videos about.
I think I said that about 10 people in my last video.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was
All
Jimmy
right.
Buffett like 20 minutes ago.
But to
It's
have
just a
three
signal of
records-
passion. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But,
All it is.
but
Yeah.
to have three records and for them to hold up as well as these do,
Yeah.
like
Sure.
the way how they're all a little bit different, right? This one's just stripped down, like just
Mhm.
singing and guitar, and then Brighter Later's got all these different random instruments in it, and then
That was
Five
John
Leaves
Cale,
Left
isn't
is
it?
kind of like both. And you
Mhm.
guys probably know Five Leaves Left is coming out in a box set, which I would say next to Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, this is the box set that I've most looked forward to in my life. Cannot wait for it.
Yeah.
I mean, any recording of Nick Drake, because there's so few.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it. But Pink Moon, I remember I woke up a couple weeks ago, was just in a crap mood, and I just hit Pink Moon, and by the time it was over, I was like, yeah, I'm all right.
Nice. I
That
like
man
how,
just soothes the soul.
it's like known, some of these records like that one included are like known as depressing records.
To me,
But
they're
I
not at
find if you
all.
put them on, they rarely depress you.
No.
The opposite.
And I often just I think the same about Nick Drake and Chris Bell.
Hmm.
If those guys could have seen what happened, 20, 30, 40 years later in terms of their popularity, because apparently both of them were very broken up over not succeeding in music. And to see that now Big Star and Nick Drake are household names
Well, and just think,
breaks my heart.
if it wasn't for a creative advertising team, either in Minneapolis
Yeah,
or
Volkswagen.
Volkswagen, a lot of us, in fact, I remember having those records in the store when I worked in a store, and I never remember ever selling one or listening to it. And I mean, people did, obviously. There's people saying, oh, I was into him in 1973 or 4, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Because of that, Pink Moon Volkswagen commercial, and it was out of, it wasn't Fallon or it was either that or Martin Williams or the one in, no one really cares. This is geeky shit. The one in
I mean,
Richmond.
I do kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I care too.
The big ad agency in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm just blanking out right now.
Oh, the Martin Agency, probably.
Martin Agency. I think they
Yeah.
might have been the one that did that. And I'm thinking these creatives came up and they picked this tune and they stuck it on there. And all of a sudden, right after that was the first time those records got reissued in years, and Joe Boyd came in, who produced 2 out of the 3 of those, I believe, and all that kind of British folk rock stuff from Fairport Convention to Incredible String Band
Which,
to.
if you haven't read this, fantastic
I
book.
have read it. It's so good. And in
Great,
fact,
yeah.
I'm using it here. His latest book for a year
Well,
ago, And the Roots of Rhythm Remain, the big volume.
Oh, he has a new book.
Well, it's been out a year. It's in paperback now. You can buy it on paperback. It's massive, but yeah, I agree with you on him.
well, there was kind of a more slightly underground rediscovery of him in the 90s.
Sure,
To
but
be
Yes.
fair, but that 2000s Volkswagen commercial, that's how my younger brother got into
Yeah.
Drake or whatever, right?
And
So
I remember they followed Pink Moon with a Sunvolt. They used a Sunvolt song, and the next ad was a Richard Buckner song. So I was like, whoever the music supervisor is on this, I need
Yeah.
to find out.
you can
I need
find
to
out.
know
Yeah,
the
you can
person.
find out. Yeah.
that was kind of the birth of a different kind of music supervisor, that era
Yeah.
in the 2000s.
Well, I remember, and we're shifting the conversation.
I don't care. So what?
No, but it's good. It's good. I knew people at Good. I mean, in San Francisco, I know a bunch of people worked at Goodby Silverstein, and I really like when they had. Now this is I'm going to fuck myself in terms of the brand. I think it was Hewlett Packard, not Epson, but I think it was HP when they used the Kink song "Picture Book."
Oh, it was HP. Yeah, that was great.
HP.
Yeah.
Great use of
Holding
that
up
Kink song.
Great
I'm
use
not.
of the song.
I'm not one that
Brilliant.
thinks, "Oh my God, they're wrecking the music that we grew up to and
If
putting
they
in."
use it in an intelligent, great way, like
And if the artist allows it, like the
yeah,
Beatles,
yeah.
Revolution slipped by for Nike, and that was a mistake, and they didn't want it. McCartney did it years later, and there have been a few instances of Beatles stuff, but it can be great. It can introduce it. And in fact, as much as I like to, I don't hate Eric Clapton as much as Chris here, but when there was a period of time when records really kind of were stalling out, where remember because of Neil Young too responded when After Midnight was in Michelob, I think, or one of
Oh
the
God.
versions.
Thanks for
I know,
reminding me of that one.
right?
Oh, it's like two terrible things, Clapton
Okay,
and
okay.
That
Michelob.
commercial was everywhere.
Exactly. But and
And
I
the
remember
Genesis
when.
one, Tonight.
And the other one was Sting when his manager, Miles Copeland, his new album of the time was stalling out. He put it in a Jaguar commercial. I forgot what even song it was. You know it? I don't know it.
No. But that made me think of another one. The one
No,
that
I'm
shook my
Sting.
world. The one that shook my world was a Jaguar commercial that featured it was I Turned My Camera On by Spoon.
Oh yeah.
But I found out 10 years later that it actually wasn't. That they ripped it off
Oh.
to like they were one note short of blatantly ripping it off. And so like Spoon actually ended up suing them. Like
I hope they won
for it.
because the famous court case is Tom Waits. There's one
I was gonna
agency.
mention that.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
wanted to use Tom Waits, and he said no. And they got a Tom Waits sound alike, and I don't remember what song it was, and it wasn't a Tom Waits, but it was the piano, whatever
Yeah.
the thing is. And Tom Waits sued and won. Because it was too
Mhm.
close. Like hey, no means no, basically in
Mhm.
advertising. But
You know
anyway,
the Jayhawk story, right? I mean, I'm sure there's a
no.
million of these stories. That's from what I heard, and I remember it was all over like the forums back in the day, the alt country forums, No Depression and
Mhm.
Postcard, that the Jayhawks, right after Tomorrow the Green Grass, were offered a huge sum of money to use blue in a Levi's
Uh-huh.
ad, and it broke up the band because of
Oh,
I have no
interesting.
idea if it's true, but I remember reading about it a lot, so I think it's
Who was the
true.
one that was against it? Olson?
I think Olson was against it.
Yeah.
Or it may have been Olson and Loris, I think, made the calls in the band.
Yeah, they were the
But
songwriters.
I think Loris was in and Olson was out. It could be
If you're going to
Wow.
do an ad, Levi's is a good thing to do. I mean, literally in the 1960s, the Jefferson Airplane did radio ads for Levi's. In
Yeah.
the 60s, the whole anti-establishment stuff, because Levi's was considered a cool,
Yeah.
At the time, though, 94, I don't know that Levi's.
Yeah, I became a lot more forgiving of it once you got into the 2000s because by then you're into full on piracy mode. like they're not selling albums. Like the only way for them to really make a true living was touring or
Yeah,
by,
licensing. Yeah.
licensing. So I
TV,
started to be a lot more
movies.
forgiving of it.
But I mean, Gen X was, Gen X was so hardcore against
Yeah.
selling out, right?
Totally,
Like
Yeah, for
totally.
sure.
Well,
when I
my
talk about
generation
that,
was
like,
against selling out too, and I mean that's
yeah. But like working in music for the past 15 years, like folks that are younger than me, they don't understand it. They're like,
Yeah.
what do you mean with selling out? Like that's bad to like give your
Right.
make some money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to move this along.
Speaking of
I'm a
which, we need to see the
billionaire.
Pavement movie. Has anybody seen it?
I want to see it.
There's a
Yeah.
pavement.
Okay,
Is it a
keep going.
documentary?
Is it in theaters or
like
does it
sort
come
of a
into like
documentary.
Netflix or something?
It's in theaters, but it's like city by city, or or like it's not,
2 nights or
it's
something.
playing in multiple cities, but it just kind of like moves throughout. Like
Yeah.
I missed the Charlotte dates, so
Mm.
I'll look it up here.
Okay, I'm going to a transitional record that's political in nature, and this is where my example was earlier that a lot of people will have favorite albums and they have no idea it's a political record and they don't care, and which is fine and that's fair. They like the music, and this is a record that I remember. I hadn't got the first two albums of this artist, and this came out in 1997. And I remember I used to get Mojo and Q all the time, And the
hmm.
end of that year, the number one friggin' record for 1997 from the British thing was OK Computer.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
this is the 10th year anniversary, which is kind of like the friggin' big book and stuff. And
Mhm.
it's, from the CD era. I love this record. But
Mhm.
as much as I loved it, I remember because of all that, I bought the CD and I was playing it in my car and I liked it. And of course, years later, it turned out, this is a transition from the first two albums, more guitar based, to after this. My phone, sorry. Um, sorry. Uh, to the more electronic stuff with Kid A. And Kid A is still my favorite Radiohead album. I know there's people before that like the guitar bass and didn't like all the bleeps and bloops and
That's my favorite.
electronic
Okay.
shit. Yeah. But this is really a cross section. I remember it and thinking the thing that bugged me about it was that kind of Stephen Hawking's robotic thing on. I thought, oh God, give me a break. When
One song, Fitter Happier. Yeah.
it's one song.
Yeah.
But this is a great, and I played it. This afternoon again. And I know the record now. I played it a lot of times, and I love the record. I do love it. But this is such a dystopian look of the world, almost anti-technology, where technology is going to a point. Although it served Radiohead really well when they said, "Hey, come and buy our record directly, or have it for free." Years later, after this. But there's so much, I mean, everything from, world pollution to there's a lot going on in this record that a lot of people really don't pay attention to. But
It's prophetic.
I think
It is. It's a prediction of
It's
what
very
where we
prophetic.
are. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people try to like ignore that now because it's everybody loves, OK Computer, but it really is. I mean,
It's
it's
interesting
one
how
of the
people
first
predict
places that people
something.
talk about detachment from society based on, the shit like this and, yeah.
The
But it's a
lyrics,
great record.
best
And I think
lyrics by far of any Radiohead
I
album.
appreciate it more now than I did at the time because I think it was so hyped being the best in Britain mostly. I mean, in America, I don't think it was quite as successful. Maybe it became
No,
successful.
actually the other way around. They were more popular here than they were in
This
the
record, though,
UK.
It was a pretty big deal when that came
was
out.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can ask some of our British friends overseas.
It was number one in the UK, I think, and it was
Well,
huge.
I'm sure it was, but I'm just saying, I think
It
in
takes like
general,
17 records to get number one in the
I
UK.
think in general, much like the way a lot of people say Led Zeppelin was more favorable in America than they were even where they were from, the Radiohead had that kind of same impact, Yeah, they were big here.
Yeah,
Big here.
so I was what in my 40s when that album came out. I
Yeah.
liked it, but when I
That was when you
remember
sold all your
2000
records and
isn't Kid A 2001, I think. I remember bringing that CD
2000.
in my office.
2000, yeah.
2000, yeah, bringing
Mhm.
that record to my office and putting it on. And as soon as I listened to uh, Everything in Its Right Place, I played that like 4 or 5 times in a row. I thought that was friggin' amazing. I love that record, and that's one of those early records. So my son was 10, just turned 10. that we both connected to in the car. One of the, that's one of a
Yeah,
handful.
that's
One
cool.
of it, surprisingly, I think I mentioned the other day.
What happened?
What happened? Well,
So
actually,
music,
that
Joseph's music taste. What happened?
another record we connected with, I can't believe Joseph loved it, was East by Joanna Newsom. Go
Oh,
figure.
wow.
I
Yeah.
know, right? He liked that squeaky voice.
Okay, that's good.
Anyway, okay,
Yeah.
that's my. We're going back to John now.
All
It's the
right.
last one, right?
Last
It's
round.
the
Yeah,
last
last one,
round. Yeah.
and it's a quick one.
Thanks for everybody still out there watching.
This is Blackgrass by Swamp Dogg. Blackgrass from West Virginia to 125th Street. Now you guys know who Swamp Dogg is, right?
I don't.
Are you serious?
Is it Snoop Dogg under another name?
Huh?
He's
No,
not.
Is
no,
it
no, no,
Snoop
no.
Dogg under another name?
Mazzy knows Swamp Dogg.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
I feel like an
he
idiot.
started in the
I don't know
70s.
Swamp Dogg either.
He's a R&B soul artist, but beautifully intertwined country music into his sound from very early on. I believe it was his second or third record.
Bluesy, country, rootsy, but
Yeah, he covered Sam Stone by John Prine. Probably it was like his second or third record. It's an incredible version. This is actually all traditional bluegrass instrumentation, and for the most part, more traditional country songs. But there are some moments where there's some R&B and soul still there for sure. The only instrument that isn't bluegrass is there's a song on here called Rise. No, Rise Up. And it's mostly an instrumental kind of bluegrass barn stomper. But then every once in a while, a chorus chimes in saying, rise up, like that. And at the very end, it's this hardcore, not hardcore, like hardcore punk, but it's like this
I was
shredding.
gonna say hardcore.
It's
Really?
the shredding electric guitar by Vernon Reid from In Living Color, or not In Living Color, Living Color, the band Living Color,
not the
which is kind
comedy
of
show.
wild.
Not the
But the
comedy.
rest of it is traditional bluegrass instrumentation. Margot Price is on here on
Wow.
a song called The Other Woman. Jenny Lewis, second Jenny Lewis mention in this video. She's on one called Count the Days. That's actually probably the most R&B sounding song on it. But you got songs like titled Mess Under That Dress and Ugly Man's Wife. That was kind of the thing, was he was known for somewhat at times, I guess some people crass sense of humor, but
So
sometimes
he wasn't covering Red Fox records.
yeah, right.
Red
But there's
Fox.
some real incredibly sincere moments on this record as well. There's one called Songs to Sing where he actually does use the P word, politics, and but it's very much like kind of a hopeful kind of song. It's in spite of all the bullshit, type of song. But yeah, like this is one that at the beginning of this year I really dove into, and it came out last year, and had I really got into it when it came out last year, it would have been on my year-end list for sure. But yeah, excellent. Chris, especially, you've really got to check out Swamp Dogg, man.
I will.
I couldn't
just
rock
because of
that
the
hat. I
blend
don't think I
of-
could rock that white hat though.
It's a
Yeah.
cool album cover.
Yeah,
It is good. Let me see the back.
Yeah.
Hold it up. Yeah.
yeah. There's the back.
West Virginia.
Right.
Cool.
But yeah, Swamp Dogg.
All right. Todd.
I'm in escapism mode, and this next record is one I'm just super excited about right now. It's been like something I've just was a complete surprise, and I'm really excited about it. Where is it? He comes from a band doing these introductions that another one that could be very political. Their album Drums and Guns came out in like when was that? 2009 maybe?
2007.
2007. Okay, it was Bush.
God, that's almost 20 years ago.
God, really?
I feel
That
like that
long
record
ago?
came out 4 years ago.
So I'm talking about the band Low, and I'm talking about Alan Sparhawk. unfortunately, Alan's wife and musical partner in Low passed away a few years ago, and he put out one record that is I don't like it. I maybe someday I'll get used to it. He
Yeah,
distorted his voice and almost this Mickey Mouse vocoder thing that I can't get past at
You
all.
had to do some.
And he toured it, and I didn't go, and he came here, and I didn't see him because I didn't want to hear, and I heard he was doing that live. Well, it might have been my loss because I'm sure he's playing material from this new album,
yeah.
which is absolutely,
I almost picked that one. I'm
it
glad.
is incredible.
Really?
It is the complete opposite of
Yeah,
that
it's
record.
beautiful.
Oh
I
my
don't know
God.
that
Tunde.
band. Trampled by Turtles? Is that
Trampled by Turtles is from Duluth, Minnesota, just like Low was.
How is that a possibility?
Uh, it's so cold there. What are you gonna do? You're gonna like make
Trampled by
music or
turtles.
art because, or you're gonna
Yeah.
like go crazy
Okay.
in the winter. But they go way back. They've been friends, I guess, in the music community forever. But this is a super organic, they're kind of Trampled by Turtles is more of a bluegrass kind of band. So this is like a lot of acoustic instruments. His voice is great. It's super clear. It's not distorted at all. And the songs are really good. I mean, it's a mournful record. I mean, I think it's kind of he's talking about his wife and his band partner and love his life that he's knew since like grade school or something.
Mhm.
That definitely is in here for sure, but it's not, I don't think it's a depressing record. I find myself quite
Mhm.
uplifted by it.
Mhm.
There's a moment where their daughter, Hollis, I think her name is, sings with Alan, and she sounds a lot like Mimi. It's crazy.
Hmm.
And then there's also this moment, I think it's called Screaming Song,
Mhm.
where these violins, at first I was like, what is
Love
this?
it. I love
Oh
it.
my God. It is like one of the most intense kind of primal scream sounds you could possibly get of like screaming from a violin. And it
Mhm.
is really intense. Gorgeous record. Absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I highly recommend this record.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite record other
I
than
don't know it.
one of my favorites for this year for
Like I almost picked that one kind of for the same reason when I talked about this one,
yeah,
because there's definitely material in there coming out of his experience, right? With
yeah,
from Mimi
yeah,
dying, but like it to me too, it sounds very uplifting,
yeah, yeah.
Um, I remember
Cozy,
when
like
I
a
picked it
blanket
up.
you're pulling over yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, I picked it up at the record store, and the owner of Lunchbox and one of the guys behind the counter was like, Alan Sparhawk with Trampled by Turtles? They were just like completely what? And I was like,
Yeah,
well, they're from the same area. When she died, they asked him to go on tour with them to
yep,
like kind of, get away from it all, I think. And he actually produced a record of theirs back around 2014, I think. And but it is definitely they're much more playing in his world on this record than their own. Like there's the instrumentation is traditional bluegrass instruments, but the
yep.
playing, like you said, with Screaming Song, is so that one's very avant. I love that song.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's a fantastic record. Like really, yeah, I was so excited when
I
I
think Chris and I are going to push that buy button later, maybe.
No, we're both
Oh, you
silent on
should.
this.
It is really, I mean, it's up there with some of Lowe's best records. It is
yeah,
really well done.
it's
There's
really
like three
good.
songs that were supposedly going to go on the next Lowe record.
I'll go check it out.
Too.
Yeah.
But oh, the other thing I want to mention, I heard an interview with Matt from the National interviewing Alan Sparhawk,
Oh yeah.
and it was really, really good. But one of the things that Alan talked about with his grieving process and losing Mimi was just how much his friends, how much they just rose to the occasion in ways he just thought wasn't even humanly possible. And you kind of get that sense when you listen to this, that his friends are supporting him and they're making this profound music together. Yeah, it's
Well,
really cool.
Low is one of those bands that they're like other bands' favorite band. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, and sometimes I don't even know if they knew that, like, as much. And I think he's been experiencing that a little bit, you know, that kind of outward affection. But yeah, Yeah, I was thrilled to death with how good it was because I wanted it to be, it was really, I mean, they're one of my favorites, so like
Same, yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful. I'm glad you talked about that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris.
Last one. Well, then we have one more for you from you. We have another Cooder coming from Mazzy after this. I'm really killing that joke.
Ry Cooder plays the Beatles.
You're not the,
Yeah.
I get that posted on my videos all the time, like a
Really?
drinking game, right? Whenever we know he's going to say Rycooter or somewhere in the.
Yeah, yeah. So my last one is not escapism, and it's not Jimmy Buffett, let's just have a party. It's just how I've been feeling for most of this since November of last year. And I went with Bunny Prince Billy's I See a Darkness. Um,
Title
I mean,
alone.
I can chuckle about it, but
We all have this record.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is one we all four have.
I think
Yeah.
there's an argument that I think this
I
is
don't have it on
1999.
vinyl, but I know it.
Yeah.
1999. I think the song I See a Darkness is one of the greatest songs ever written. Like it's in like the top 50.
Cash cover.
Yeah. And if you go onto YouTube and just search Bonnie Prince Billy, I See a Darkness, they are some of the greatest performances I've ever seen. Like there's one on, I think it's KEXP. It's just him. He's wearing flip-flops. He's always like, he's totally out there. And it's just him really slow on an acoustic guitar. And it is spellbinding. Like
Wow. Wow.
just search that. We all have like I have to listen to 15 records after this. You guys have to do the search for I See a Darkness. But this record, I'll mention my closest friend from college, my buddy Brian. He loved Will Oldham when we were in college. He was huge into Palace, Palace Brothers, Palace songs, all the different variations. I never liked him. Bonnie Prince Billy came out, didn't really like him. Mid 2000s, I think when Master and Everyone, is that what it was called? Which I think came out maybe in like 2002 or 3.
Mhm.
I then fell for Will Oldham and I was like, all right, this is some good shit. And now I've got, I don't know, 25 Will Oldham related records because he puts out like
Yeah.
6 a year. Um, but this record, you guys all know it. All four of us have it. It's
Yeah.
an incredible, incredible record. And the only, I don't know if I've said anything political yet, but there have been moments, and I'm sure just you guys and other folks watching in the last, how many months in are we? 5? Where
Yeah. Almost. Yeah. 5. Yeah.
where it's almost to the point of I don't know, like throwing in the towel, right? I'm sure some of us have experienced like we lost, right? We saw this past weekend was encouraging, but I think my mental state with respect to what's going on in America and the world has gotten so far down that even this weekend didn't really pull me up that much. Like it did a little bit, but just the day after day after day hateful things that are happening. I know
Oh,
I'm
it's
getting to
unbelievable.
it's I just don't I don't like the depression levels in this country must be off the charts right
Oh,
now.
absolutely.
Like because the thing that it's hit me the most is we're sort of we're sort of taught to be good people, right? Like to do good, to be generous, to be
I
loving, to
don't know. That's
right,
being
I know,
tested.
to care for thy neighbor, right? And
Yeah. I don't know.
what they are doing is the antithesis of that across the board, like on
Mhm.
every topic. So it makes you question like existential stuff, right? Like, is it worth it to be a good person? I mean, of course it
And
is, but
partially
like,
in the name of religion, which is even.
oh God, when I hear
Well,
that,
no, but I feel like it's just a progression of kind of just the I'm in it for myself mentality,
Self.
pretty
and
much,
if that's who we are,
which
like,
is born out of a lot of other things,
yeah,
and
yeah,
not just religion, and not really even as much
Well,
religion.
it always went from the top up. My generation, I'm sure yours, someday I can be president, someday I can strive to be that better person. Now, obviously, every president we've had have our flaws and things, and we've certainly been having presidents that we disagree politically. I certainly have, you have, but it hasn't been this kind of vile thing that happens. You know, I want Chris to finish because I want to end with a bomb.
Can I just say something quick?
Yeah, of
At
course.
the end of the day, these politicians, these presidents, I'm thinking of the two Bushes in particular in my lifetime. At the end of the day, they were good people. I mean, I felt that they were good people. At the end of the day, they're good people.
Don't know about W.
I don't, well, they're
I don't
flawed and they
know.
got misguided, but I think when push comes to shove, I think they're still they thought they're doing the right thing. Their heart's in the right
W
place.
was manipulated too much by his vice
And
president.
Cheney
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and what's that
I
face?
think,
The
he just
other
wasn't
people.
strong enough on.
Rumsfeld.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's Karl Rove and yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like this guy
Yeah, yeah.
rotten to the core.
And people don't
And
see it. They
and
I don't know
that's
why the evangelicals all love him. I just do not in a million
he's
years
so
understand.
anti.
Yeah.
He got things pushed through that that a certain segment loves. He got things done for them. All the power, I guess, for them. But he's a vile person, selfish, selling his guitars, selling his shoes, selling his
a
watch.
cell phone. Now he has a cell
There's a
phone
cell phone
business.
today with branded, made in America, yet it's made in China, we know. So
Yeah.
anyway,
I mean, it
we're gonna
just,
end with a bang here.
I'm sure everybody you have these moments where you're just like, and I don't mean this like some wonderful person or anything, but like, how did we get here? Like here, it's just so awful. Like he has no redeeming qualities, none. Like
I agree.
it's just
Right.
sad, and when it goes on for now, it's going to be 8 years. It starts to really be like, is that who we are now? Like, is this what humanity's becoming? Because if it is,
The
man,
whole world is watching, and everyone hates it. The whole thing about making America great is turned the completely opposite. Being in an isolated place, if that's the way you want America to be great, I feel sorry for you. But
yeah.
I'm going to end up this. We can continue the conversation after this, but to me, this is the most commercial record that this artist did in 1989, and it's a fantastic record. And my guess is most people don't know how political it is, how about uh, you know, New York from the 1980s at the end of the 80s it is. They even he even mentions Rudy Giuliani on this record, Donald Trump on this record, and that's New York by Lou Reed. This is a
Oh,
fucking,
I thought you were going to say The End of Innocence by Don Henley, but
this
okay.
is Don Henley. I'm not going
He
to
mentions Rudy Giuliani on this
on a
record.
song. He mentions Trump on a song, 1989. You know, this is an incredible record. He talks about, um, the like Christopher Street on Halloween. There's that great song. What's it called?
Halloween parade.
Yeah, Halloween Parade, and it's about Christopher Street in New York. If you don't know, if you're not from New York, is like the Castro, is the Big Gary, and every like San Francisco and major other cities, Seattle, and the gay parades and the great the festivals on that, and we're going through this thing of talks about homophobic stuff and fags being beaten up, and Romeo and Juliet, Dirty Boulevard too. I mean, it's a dark side of New York, but there's New York that he loves and he grew up with, anti-Semitic stuff, and that's a whole other situation that we can
He
talk.
doesn't hold back on the
He doesn't hold back on
risque
anything.
on the words that you shouldn't be saying. He says them all.
Exactly. He doesn't hold out on anything. I saw this tour, and because of my buddy worked at Warner's at the time in San Francisco, we saw him at the I'm thinking it was Winter. It couldn't have been Winter. It must have been Berkeley Community Theater or the Warfield. And we went backstage, and I mean, meeting Lou Reed is not like a big, wonderful like love fest. He's kind of like,
I wouldn't
but
imagine it would be.
you're with record people, so that's even like magnify that. You can imagine
Yeah.
that if you've been in the
Ugh.
business. But still, it was cool. It was so good. This has the best riffs, the best commercial hooks of any Lou Reed album, except for maybe Walk on the Wild Side. Because, I love Lou Reed. I'm all on Lou Reed for the most part. And he's got a lot of challenging records and things that are really cool and out there and avant and rock and roll. But the riffs on here, the production on here, he has Rob Wasserman playing this great upright bass on here, who worked with Jerry Garcia. And so great musicianship. It's just a wonderful, wonderful record. It wasn't I think Dirty Boulevard was that great music video of the time, and it's an incredible song. This is a perfect
Incredible song.
record.
Yeah.
I love that record. That was
It's
eye-opening in high
bombastic, it's
school.
political, it's
Yeah.
urban, it's he goes through everything politically and civility and immigration and Latin families coming and Puerto Ricans coming in. And I gotta say this because this
Did
whole
you get the box? You got the box, right?
I don't have the box. This is the double.
Wow.
It's 33, but since it was a CD, it's over two LPs. Chris Bellman cut, but I don't have I have an original CD. I got it as a promo. But the thing about this record too is, and what I gotta say is this whole thing really kind of what's happening in California last week, and ICE going around and raiding things. And I'm for legal immigration, and a lot of this stuff could have been resolved going back to I don't can't remember if it was or George Bush one when we had a uh, a path to citizenship. I think it was actually in George Bush one. I could be wrong, maybe W. And it was close. And of course, a segment on the right didn't want legal immigration. We had that thing during Biden. And I don't care. When I get on these fucking streams and people say it wasn't a perfect bill, we had an immigration policy. It was a compromise from the left and the right, created by Republicans and Democrats. We wouldn't have been in the situation of families being ripped apart. I'm from San Francisco. You're from, the Bay Area. In 1991, I think, is when San Francisco became a sanctuary city. In 2003, Seattle became one. And we're talking about states' rights, city rights. I lived for 25 years in a heavy Latin neighborhood. Legal immigrants, illegal immigrants from Central, South, and America and Mexico. And it was the most wonderful neighborhood I lived in. Are there pockets and situations that happen once in a while? Absolutely. So what you do, they bring up the one person that murdered someone, which is atrocious, but you don't have to be an immigrant to murder someone. So instead of a path for this whole thing of ripping families apart, and it turns out like less than 8% of the people that ICE has picked up in the last month or two, however long it's been, have been criminals. The
Because
rest,
it's never been about
it's not
criminals.
about
It's
that.
not
And all of
about
a sudden, if
criminals.
you notice, I think yesterday, or the day before, Trump, and I'm finally going to mention his name, finally said, okay, we're going to allow farmers to keep their workers. We're not going to go that because
The
all the
agricultural people started freaking
agricultural
out.
people in red states and blue states,
He said hospital workers too.
yeah, have spoken up that they need these people. They need these people working,
Easy with these people, Mazzy. God.
I know
What's
these,
wrong with
yeah,
you?
you're right, but we need these workers that
Yeah,
are
I mean,
diligent
listen,
workers.
I
And
hate to be the resident cynic here, but this is the reason they don't want this issue to be solved.
of course they don't. That's the thing. That's why they didn't
Never,
want Biden.
never.
Never.
They
Never.
didn't want the immigration policy a year ago to go through because it would have made Biden look good. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And now
But I
Trump
firmly
caused a
believe
fucking
that
riot in LA.
both parties don't want it solved because it's the thing that it's one of the things that pushes people to the polls in their minds. And immigration, abortion, education, healthcare. They don't want any of these things solved because they want them to be debatable, topics that get us all fired up and turn on each other. That's what it's all about.
Any
Yeah.
final words, boys, lads?
Bitter, happier.
I had to get that. I had to get that out at the very end.
How awesome is that Nick Drake Volkswagen commercial? With how
One of the
bunch of
greatest.
lefties, how knowledgeable we
Yeah.
are about advertising. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. I'm gonna go have an arugula salad and some avocado toast. No.
I've got Rachel Maddow taped, so I got to watch her.
Nice.
Thank you. So please put your comments in. I will keep comments even if you disagree, unless they're filthy, disgusting, troll ass comments. Those will be deleted. There are links below to the three wonderful friends here. I'm fortunate enough to have met them all. I consider them all friends. It goes back. The oldest one here I've known is Chris. And interesting, both Chris and Todd the archivist has sort of brought us together because
Good.
I remember Chris and Amanda and I going to see
Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson at the Fillmore. But
It's the
we
first
met
time I met
before
you,
that.
I think.
We met at a bar somewhere before
Well-
that, I remember.
Well, you and I met a few times at the bar that Amanda worked at. What was the name of that bar?
Luna Park.
I love that place.
Yeah, it was great. It was
And I
unbelievable.
remember you would always have the martini, and I was like, "This guy's very classy. I think I want to kind of want to be friends with this guy."
Yeah, I'm classy to you. I'm the old guy to Todd, but that's okay. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just-
What?
No, I'm just,
You're always got.
I don't know
class.
what I met John in Portland, Oregon, when he visited his sister, and it was. I wish we could all get together sometime in person. That'll
I
happen.
plan on coming up to Seattle again soon.
Good.
Before the end of the
Yeah,
summer,
That was so much
so.
fun.
Yeah,
Good.
we had a great time.
I got
You
a
should come.
room for you, John, if you ever, once your kids are in college, if I'm around still. So, okay. Well,
All
thank
right.
you, everyone.
Thanks for having us, Mazzy.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's a collective. We'll do more of these whenever we feel like it.
Yeah, sure.
Take care. Mazzy loves you.
Bye.
Thanks.